Hello everyone, here we are in Cocoa Beach, Florida. We're just a few miles south of all the spaceports where almost all of our space history has taken place. But right here in Cocoa Beach includes the space history of the off-duty time of all the astronauts and support people through the whole program. Some of the places where they hung out and stayed are still around today. Some of them are gone, some of them are soon to be gone. So let's take a look at what's still here. We're going to start on the south side of Cocoa Beach and work our way north through the different places. Coming up here on the right is the Sea Air Motel. Built in 1950 and still run by the same family. This is where Wernher Von Braun and the Mercury astronauts and families stayed for some of the times. See the picture, it looks almost the same as it does today in this one area. This place has got a beautiful retro 1950s look, and they really recovered well from Hurricane Irma, which really tore the place up. Less than a mile north, coming up on the right, is the site of the old Atlantis Beach Lodge, now the Ocean's Landing Resort. You got some classic 1950s architecture there, still in use. And here you can compare the Atlantis postcard to the satellite view today and see that the buildings all line up, except for those two new ones right on the ocean. And yeah, it's kind of funny walking through these older places, but this is where the astronauts stayed. You've got a classic retro tennis court built on top of a parking lot. And here's one of the pools you can see in the postcard. Okay, just another 2 blocks up the road are 2 big complexes where the astronauts stayed. On the right is the Ramada and the Holiday Inn from before, and on the left is a La Quinta Inn, which at the time was called the Cape Colony Inn. We'll stop there next. This inn was actually jointly owned by the Mercury astronauts for a little while, and then they sold off their property after that. I was not able to find any Cape Colony Inn era pictures to compare this to. Now, the owner of the bar above the La Quinta told me that this place on the right, which is now a beach shop, used to be some kind of little entertainment place where Sinatra played. Now here's the epicenter of the astronaut off-time activity. On the right here used to be a Ramada, and on the left was a Holiday Inn. Later they combined into a Holiday Inn. Here, if you look at the picture of the Ramada, you can see the same 8 columns that you see on that building today. And in the distance, you can see the columns, those 4 columns that were the old Holiday Inn entrance. When Holiday Inn bought out both sides, they switched to that right side for their entrance. All right, there's those 8 columns I was telling you about that shows up in that old Ramada Inn picture. So this was the lobby for the Ramada, and then later the Holiday Inn, and now International Palms Resort. Now, I'm sorry to say this entire complex is scheduled to be completely demolished later this year. December, they told me. Part of the reason I decided to do this documentary. Now we're heading into an area that used to be called Wolfie's Restaurant in the old Ramada days. And most or all of the Mercury astronauts hung out here because it was also a cocktail lounge. A couple of key incidents happened here related to the space program. One of them is the infamous corned beef sandwich Gemini 3 incident, where John Young snuck a corned beef sandwich on the flight and freaked out all the NASA people because of the crumbs and debris and all that. That sandwich was made right here. The other part is a little more sad. It has to do with Gus Grissom and Jay Barbary, who you can see on the right. Gus Grissom sat down with Jay right in this place and pleaded with him to put some light onto the shoddy workmanship going on in the Apollo program and the rushing that ultimately led to Gus Grissom's death a few months later in a fire. There's links to both of these articles in the comments section of the video here. Here's the pool. There's a famous picture with Deke Slayton getting out of a pool in his full outfit. And they say it was taken at the Holiday Inn, but it does not match up. The water depth, the shape of the pool, the buildings in the background. So that happened somewhere else, and I don't know where. I'm showing this so you can see. This is probably 1960 era ceiling tiles and ventilation outlets. I couldn't find any articles about this time, but in the past I also have heard that the Holiday Inn Lounge was a big astronaut hangout in the early days. So here's what's left of it. It's going to be gone soon. Right here's the side that was the Ramada Inn side. And this pirate pool here is not historical, but it's worth showing because it's pretty cool. So here you can see some more evidence of how these were totally separate hotels. On the right is the Ramada that has the pitched roof, and on the left is the Holiday Inn, which had the flat roof. And of course they've styled it similarly now to try to tie it all together. The way the window panels and air conditioning unit and doors are also completely different on the left versus the right. Now, some of the archival documents out there talk about a loft area of the Ramada Inn that astronaut families stayed, and I believe this is it. It is still called the Lofts, and it is on the property that was part of Ramada historically. I'd imagine this oceanfront section would be where the astronauts stayed, because it goes back to the beginning. All right, one last look back at this place. Again, it's scheduled for demolition in December. All right, another 2.5 miles up the road, we have here the Best Western, which during the early space program was called the Polaris Motel, and there was also the famous Mousetrap Restaurant and Lounge. So you look at the picture on the right of the postcard and the satellite view on the left, and you see all those buildings line up, with a couple exceptions of newer stuff. On the left would be the old Polaris check-in area. In the middle is where the Mousetrap Restaurant and Lounge was, and on the right is a newer structure where the Best Western check-in is now. Okay, so here we are between the two oldest buildings of the Polaris Motel, and then up ahead on the right is a little bit newer building from the Polaris Motel era, and then way up, the 7-story building came later. You can tell this is the original pool and an older pool because it has the 8-foot deep section that you needed for the 3-foot diving boards that most of the hotels used to have. I hope you enjoyed looking at this piece of space history that you can still see. Thanks for watching, everybody.